In this tutorial, we are going to build an AI agent that will translate files to different languages. So you can use this solution particularly for React Native, or you can adjust it to any other application. But the bottom line is that as a developer, you no longer have to do the translations manually. So let me show you how this works. First of all, I'm going to select a file that I want to translate. And by the way, this is this particular file. So as you can see, we have some keys and values, and we want to translate the values, okay? So I've uploaded the test.jsx, and now I can select a language from here, or I can type in, for example, Polski as Polish in Polish, and then I'm going to execute the chatbot, and let's wait a few seconds for the results. And I get back a confirmation that the country code for Polish is PL, and I have translated the content and modified the JavaScript export statement. The modified content has been saved as the new file named PL.jsx. So let's find this file on our desktop and open it up. And this is the result, and it's exactly what I wanted to accomplish. So now, without further ado, let's get started. For this project, we will be using Flowise AI, and this is a low-code open-source tool that will enable us creating the chatbot that you saw in the intro in a very easy way. So with Flowise, we can basically create workflows with the use of drag-and-drop components that we can adjust. So in order to get Flowise, let's scroll a little bit down, and over here we have the installation command. So with the use of npm, we are going to install Flowise globally. And then we are going to start the Flowise server with the use of npx Flowise start. All right, so I already installed Flowise AI, but I'm going to show you what version I'm using. So with the use of Flowise -- version, we can check the version of Flowise, and in my case, this is 2.2.4. So if you have any installation issues, you can try to install this specific version. So you would run sudo npm install g and then Flowise at 2.2.4. In case of any issues, leave a comment and I'll try to help you with the installation. So as the next step, we can actually run the Flowise server. So it's npx Flowise start. We can specify a port. By default, it runs on port 3000. So we can run it on 3001, for example. And we can set the debugging mode to true. So over here we have a confirmation that the Flowise server is listening on port 3001. So now we can go to the browser, type localhost, and then 3001. What I'm going to do first is to change the theme to dark, and then I'm going to directly head over to agentflows, and I'm going to add new. So over here, this is where we are going to build our AI agent. Let's actually give it a name and save it. So in the right top corner over here, let's press save, and I'm going to name this agent as JSX translator. JSX translator. There we go. And I have failed to save agent. So SQL read-only attempt to write read-only database. So if you are getting this error, the easiest thing to do is to quit the development server, and let's run this with the use of sudo. So sudo npx and then Flowise start. Let's run it again on port 3001, and let's run it in debugging mode. So let's set debug to true. All right, I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to try to save it one more time. JSX translator. There we go. This time I was able to save my agent. So if you're on Windows, you probably don't need to worry about this, but if you are on Mac or on Linux and you have any issues, you can try to solve them with the use of sudo. Next, I want to mention that I will be powering my AI agent with the OpenAI GPT-4 model. And this is a paid service since it requires you to obtain an OpenAI API key. So if you don't want to do this, I have an alternative for you, and this alternative is Ollama. So this is a framework developed by Meta that enables you running large language models locally, and we are going to get Ollama and then install Llama 3.2 model. This is a model that has 3.2 billion parameters, so it's not that powerful as the paid GPT-4 or even the GPT-3 model. If you have a little bit more space on your disk, you can try to get Llama 3.3. It's a little bit bigger large language model, and as you can see, it has 70 billion parameters, but the weight is 43 gigabytes. So we are going to use Llama 3.2, and this model weighs only 2 gigabytes, but on the other hand, it only has 3 billion parameters. And by the way, parameters are weights and biases used to train this large language model. So let's go back to the main page. Let's press download. We need to select the platform and then press the download button. After downloading and running the installation file, let's press next, and then we have installed the command line. So let's press install. And let's press finish. Now we can run Ollama list. So we don't have any large language models just yet. But if we write Ollama run and then Llama 3.2, we will get the Llama 3.2 large language model. All right, so I was able to get Llama 3.2, and right now we can interact with the large language model. But first of all, I'm going to quit by pressing Ctrl D, and what I'm going to do is to run Ollama list again. So right now, as you can see, we have a confirmation that we got the Llama 3.2 model, and I'm going to copy Llama 3.2 latest, and now I'm going to write Ollama show and then Ollama 3.2 latest. And over here we have some details about our large language model, and among others we can see that the parameters over here in fact are 3.2 billion. So as the next step, again, let's run Ollama run Llama 3.2, and let's interact with the large language model. I'm going to type what are the main characters in Breaking Bad TV series. And after just a few seconds, I got the results. So Walter White, Skylar White, Jesse Pinkman, Hank Schrader, Saul Goodman. And then we have other notable characters that include Marie Schrader, Badger, Gus Fring, and Mike Ehrmantraut. All right, so this is working, and now we can proceed with our project. So I'm back at Flowise AI, and I'm back at our JSX translator. So let's add our first component. So let's press plus in the left top corner, and let's type chat. And for the Ollama, we are going to use chat Ollama. And this is a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. And let's type also chat OpenAI. There we go. So if you don't have the OpenAI API key, you can try with the Ollama chat. Over here, you just need to specify the model name. So in our case, it's going to be Llama 3.2. And we want to limit the creativity to minimum. So we will set the temperature to 0 so we can get predictable outcomes. And yeah, that is it for the Ollama chat configuration. In terms of chat OpenAI, we need to connect the credentials. So let's press create new. We can simply give it any name. I'm going to place in OpenAI. And then I'm going to paste in the OpenAI API key. Next, I'm going to select the model. I'm going to leave it as the GPT-4o mini model. I think it will be powerful enough for our project. And also, I'm going to set the temperature to 0. As the next step, I'm going to add another component. And since we are going to use sequential agents, I'm going to look for start node. There we go. I'm going to drag and drop it, and I'm going to connect my chat model to this position over here. So I will be using, as mentioned before, chat OpenAI, but you can go ahead and try to do this with Ollama chat. So let's attach chat OpenAI to the start node. All right. As the next step, I'm going to search for a simple node for text processing. And this is going to be a LLM node. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop it after the start node. And I'm also going to search for the end node to end the conversation. Okay, so now I'm going to connect start with the sequential node of LLM, and then the LLM node to the end node. Okay, I have to give it a name, so here I'm just going to maybe add a name of Joker, because before we actually begin with some more serious stuff, I just want to give you a very simple example. So after adding the name, I'm going to click on additional parameters, and I'm going to head over to the system prompt. And here I'm just going to write, you are a Joker. You tell short, or you respond with short and funny jokes. All right. So I'm going to press save, and I'm going to open the chat window. I'm going to type hello, and let's see what we will get. Hello, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a good joke or not, but the solution works. So now we can actually work on our project where we are going to translate JSX files. So first of all, we have to enable file upload. As you can see over here, there is no option to do this. So let's head over to settings and then configuration, and let's click on file upload. And here we have to enable full file upload. Next, let's press save. And then if we open up the chat window again, we are now able to upload documents. Next, let's head over to the LLM node again, and I'm going to change the name to language detector. And I'm going to click on additional parameters again. I'm going to change the system prompt, but over here in the corner, you can press this icon to have a bigger view. And here I'm going to paste the prompt. So your role is to detect language to which files should be translated from the user input. Detect the language from the question, and notice the question is in curly bracelets, so more on this later, but basically this is a variable. And to continue, for example, let's look at the different possible user inputs. Translate to Spanish is Spanish. Poland is Polish. Eng is English. And then respond only with the detected language in English. So I'm going to save this prompt, and yeah, let's try this out. So let's go ahead and save our AI agent. Open the chat window. I'm going to clear the chat history, and I'm going to type in Poland. And LLM node input variable values are not provided. So this error is related to the variable. We have to go to format prompt values and assign something to the question. So over here we have detected the question variable, but it's empty right now. So over here we can update this value, and we want to update it with the question. And here the question is described as user question from the chat box. So let's try this again. Again, I have to save the workflow and then open the chat window, and let's type in Poland again. And as you can see, the detected language is Polish. Perfect. So as the next step, maybe I would like to save this language variable as a global state variable. So how to do this? Notice in the start node, you have also an option to attach agent memory and state. So let's do this very quickly. First of all, maybe let's begin with the memory. So I'm going to search for SQLite. SQLite. There we go. And I'm going to attach it to the agent memory. And then I'm going to search for state. And then I'm going to drag and drop this state component below the agent memory. And attach it to the state of the start node. Next, I'm going to head over to additional parameters, and I'm going to add item. And this item is going to be language. So this basically is going to be the detected language to which we have to translate our JSX file. The operation is going to be replace. Okay, so now what we need to do is to update the state. Let's go back to the LLM node, additional parameters, and all the way down we need to scroll in order to update state, and we have two options to do it inside of this table, or we can do it using code. And I find the code solution a little bit better because it gives me full control and I can see precisely what is happening. So I'm going to press in update state code. And first of all, I can check out an example. So over here, we have a result from flow output, and then we are updating a state variable, which in this case is aggregate with the result content. All right, so what I'm going to do is to actually remove everything. And I'm going to set a variable language, or maybe lang, and this is going to be flow and then output content. And I'm going to console log. Maybe I'll make the screen a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm writing a little bit better, hopefully. Here I'm just going to console log the language. Okay. And as the next step, I'm going to update the language by returning an object where we are going to set the language as lang. Okay. And by the way, maybe let's also log the output, the flow output, okay? So we can see what is happening. All right. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to clear the chat history maybe, and then I'm going to type this time PL. So again, it detected the language as Polish, which is correct. And over here, my state variable is now Polish. And to confirm this, I'm going to head over a little bit higher. And this is the output content, which is Polish. So basically, what you see over here is the flow output, and the content is, as mentioned before, Polish. So this is what the chat responded to us, all right? So if I go to additional parameters, to the system prompt, and I will delete this respond only with the detected language in English part just for a few seconds. Let's save, and then let's save the AI agent. Let's clear the chat history, and let's type something like, let's just put in Polish. So right now we have the response as the language detected is Polish. And as you can see, the state variable is the language detected is Polish, and the content is the language detected is Polish, all right? So in our case, what we want is to have the language itself. We don't need any additional text. So I'm going to add this second point where we are precisely telling that we only want the detected language in English. Okay. Also, let's go over here and let's console log the flow state. Okay, so let's save our workflow. Polish. And there we go. And now we have the state, and the language is an empty string because if we go to the LLM node, it gets updated over here. All right, so here we don't have this state just yet. So what I'm going to do next is maybe add a LLM node, or I can copy this LLM node. I'm going to break this connection, move the end node a little bit to the right. I'm going to connect the language detector to the file detector, because over here we are going to detect if we attached files or not. And then I'm going to connect this node to the end node. All right. So over here in the additional parameters, I'm just going to type in hello world. The system prompt doesn't matter for now. And in the update state, I just want to focus on this part where we simply console log the state. So let's save the JSX translator. I'm going to clear the chat history again, and I'm going to type in Polish. So this time in the state, as you can see, we have language set as Polish. So this is exactly what we wanted to accomplish, right? So now I'm actually going to put in the correct prompt. So here it is. So check for a file if file, and again, this is in curly bracelets, so this is a variable, and we will have to assign a value to it in just a second. So if file exists and it's not empty, respond, I have a file. Otherwise, respond, no file detected. Please provide a document for translation and confirm the target language. So let's head over to format prompt values. And here we have a question because we copied this node. So we can go ahead and delete this. And then we are going to add a key, which is file. And then over here, we are going to assign the file attachment. And yeah, this is basically it. Over here, we actually don't update any state, so we can simply delete this, and then we can save our workflow. Again, I'm going to clear the chat history, and let's type in maybe Spanish this time. So the language detector detected the language as Spanish, and then the file detector gave us an respond, no file detected. Please provide a document for translation and confirm the target language. So this is working. To be double sure, let's actually upload a file. And again, I'm going to type in Spanish. And there we go. So the language detector, again, detected the language as Spanish, and then the file detector detected a file. So now let's actually attach an actual agent node. So I'm going to break this connection over here. I'm going to now look for an agent node, agent, and we have to go to sequential agents and drag and drop the agent node. Okay, I'm going to call this agent translator. And in the system prompt, I'm going to put in perform the following tasks step by step. Determine the country code from the language. So the language is our state variable, and we will assign the to the language the language from the state, and then extract the country code that corresponds to language, output the determined country code, and then translate content. Identify all text inside double quotes, translate this text into the language, and then modify the JavaScript export statement. In the given JavaScript file, find export const data, replace it with export const country code that corresponds to the language. And then I'm telling specifically to use the write tool, write file tool to be more precise, and then save the modified content as new file, and the name should be the country code and JSX format at the end. So now what we need to do is to save this system prompt, and we need to add a tool. So as mentioned before, in the prompt, we are going to use the write file tool. So write file, there we go. We need to drag and drop it. So let's just connect the write file to the tools, and also let's connect the LLM node to the agent node. And let's provide over here the directory where we want to keep our translated files. So let's now add the agent to the end node, and then let's save our JSX translator. And now, if it works, this is actually going to be an AI agent flow. So let's press save, and let's clear the chat history. And then I'm going to upload test. And then over here, let's type in Spanish. And here we have an error. So what we did forget is to assign to the language variable the state variable. So we can go to flow state, replace with key. And now we just need to replace with key with the actual key, which in our case is language. Okay, so let's save this and let's try it one more time. Spanish. Okay. So we have a confirmation that the file has been saved as ESJSX. So let's try this out. Okay, I have this ESJSX. And there it is. So our solution is working so far. However, we need to do some improvements, some adjustments. We need to handle different situations. For example, what if the language is detected, but there is no file? Or there is a file, however, the language is not detected. Or there is a file, but it's in the wrong format. So we will do this in the next video, as well as attaching our solution to web applications such as React.js or Django.